So we do not have a quorum to do the minutes, so I'm going to go right ahead to the first presenter. Is Casey in here? Okay, I don't see. Is our presenter here? Okay, I am going to move on then to James Lindsay. And I'm sure that Casey will be joining us. So if you would come forward. Thank you.
Just come back and grab a snack.
Yes.
Thinking about.
Mr. Lindsay, if you would please identify yourself for the committee.
My name is James Lee Lindsay. I'm the financial exploitation attorney at Legal Aid of West Virginia.
Okay, thank you very much. And you can proceed.
All right. Here today to talk a little about financial exploitation, the law in West Virginia. Financial Exploitation Task Force, multidisciplinary group. AARP brought us together. We have quarterly meetings where we discuss issues affecting financial exploitation. Purposes: to promote the prevention of, raise public awareness of, and I won't read all of these. All of these are in reference to financial exploitation. We want to support the availability of civil remedies, victim access to those remedies, identifying, including partners in our mission, develop and share expertise. Our membership, you see Legal Aid is a member of this, AARP is a member of this. We have many members, including the West Virginia Supreme Court, Senior Legal Aid, and many state agencies. Okay, so financial exploitation is we call it the biggest silent crime in the United States. So these are two studies that we use. One is the federal from the Government Accountability Office. They found about 5.5 million in assets from about 158 incapacitated victims, most of whom were seniors. Estimated cost of financial exploitation in the United States is approximately $3 billion. So the usual suspects: computer hackers, identity thieves, IRS scams, jury scams, Medicaid phone scams, and grandparent scams. I have dealt in some way or another with just about every one of these. Federal Trade Commission stats. Here we have, see the giant bulk of scams that my clients deal with. Imposter government telemarketing, imposter business. We're going to talk mainly about the other, which is this 42%, which are the unusual suspects. These are the people that I deal with in my work, but these people come from diverse professional backgrounds. We've had engineers, bankers. These are trusted agents, people, consumers, friends, family, people trust with their finances. A lot of family members, spouses. I've seen more caregivers, needy children, grandchildren, people's best friends and neighbors, guardians and conservators. I personally haven't seen any of those yet, but they are out there. Some of the law we've developed started in 2016 with our civil cause of action. We've added criminal causes of action and civil causes of action. Our latest was the Financial Exploitation Protective Order, and we were able to add some criminal penalties for violating those through the West Virginia legislature added those in 2020, I believe. So our criminal definition is the intentional misappropriation or misuse of funds or assets of an elderly person, protected person, or incapacitated adult This is our criminal definition. Does not include a good faith effort to assist an elderly person with their finances. Essentially, how we delineate that is you can make an investment that loses money, but that is different from taking the money and investing it for your own purposes. So the update that we added recently is that the blue section, or no, that it shall apply to transactions or dispositions of funds. Okay, yes, we that it may not apply. So some of the relief we have in the statute currently, we have return of property and assets, actual damages. Judges can award double or treble damages under these statutes. Attorney's fees, it is a fee shifting statute. To preponderance of the evidence standard, we have a 2-year statute of limitations in West Virginia. We also, judges have the power to freeze assets, provide injunctive relief, appoint receivers, void contracts, or require security be posted. So the West Virginia statistics on this, we have almost 16,000 reports of abuse and neglect. Financial exploitation, we're about in 7,244 of those, next to half. So close to half of adult abuse and neglect cases that were reported to Adult Protective Services. Almost half involved some type of financial exploitation. We have 5,000, almost 6,000 neglect financial exploitation cases. Now, our attorneys at Legal Aid since 2017 have handled around 205 cases of financial exploitation. We have recovered approaching now $3 million in civil judgments for our clients. Not all of those were provided any actual funds to the clients. These are, some of them did, but a lot of them didn't. So what problem do we have? We have a big toolbox here in the state of West Virginia for financial exploitation. We have a great definition. We have all of these remedies that judges are available to step in, stop financial exploitation from the magistrate level to the circuit level. But we do have a lack of materials. So what would we think would be beneficial for our clients or consumers in West Virginia is a consumer protection penalty and restitution fund. Something that could provide consumer enforcement actions and distribute compensation to eligible consumers and victims. This is something that could be state agency administered with an annual reporting. And undue influence is still not statutorily defined. We have a few good case law definitions, but we don't have any factors that are actually in the statute. Case law definitions, they don't seamlessly apply to financial exploitation. So it would seem beneficial to West Virginia's elderly to define that. Went too far. Oh, sorry, I didn't see it up here. Here we go. Wrong one. Should have had it up here on the screen. Oh, man, get back. Thank you. Okay. Speaking of undue influence, undue influence is essentially excessive persuasion that causes a person to refrain from acting in their own interests and essentially substitutes another person's interest for theirs. So there are tons of factors in this. Some of these factors are represented in West Virginia case law, but not all of them. Some of the factors that can be looked at are the vulnerability of the victim. What is the influencer's apparent authority to the victim? What are the actions or tactics used by the influencer, whether they're threats of violence? Some of these bad actors use constant asking to wear people down. Sometimes they use lies and manipulation. And the equity of the result. What happened? Who walked away with all of the money? Who walked away with the property? So this is our financial exploitation unit. I'm James Lindsay. Jennifer Singletary is our attorney in Charleston. We assist victims of financial exploitation in navigating the criminal process, and in some instances, the civil process. We assist victims in recovering assets, finding housing, benefits, other programs. Essentially, we can help a victim access any of the programs we know about in the state of West Virginia. We do participate in community education training programs and providing educational opportunities and the relief and services available at Legal Aid. There's some of the folks that helped us with this presentation and who we work with on the financial exploitation task force.
Are there any questions for our presenter, for Mr. Lindsay? The chair recognizes the co-chair.
Thank you. And thank you so much for your presentation. Are we going to get copies of your?
Absolutely. I do have copies.
Okay, great. Thank you. And can you tell me this fund that you say we need to create? Is that something we have to create from scratch, or are we adding to something that's already existing?
I think it's additions to the crime victim compensation fund.
Okay.
I think there are a few states that have added that financial exploitation specifically as an item of damage that can be recovered.
So you're thinking of amending our crime victims compensation fund with some more tools that they could use?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you happen to have any idea what cost it would take to for them to actually be able to do this, to help protect our seniors?
I don't.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't. But sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
You're very welcome.
Further questions? Further questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Lindsay, for being here on such a rainy, snowy, sleety day. Okay, I don't see the sheriff, so I'm going to go on to our next presenter then. Lisa Hopkins, the General Counsel and Senior Deputy Commissioner of Securities State Auditor's Office. So if you'll please come to the podium. Thank you so much for being here. And if you'll identify yourself and proceed.
Yes, Lisa Hopkins, General Counsel and Deputy Commissioner of Securities for the West Virginia State Auditor's Office. And on behalf of myself and the State Auditor, J.B. McCuskey, I thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today and to give a brief presentation. So securities, what are they, why it matters in combating fraud? So blue sky laws are state statutes that regulate securities. It may surprise you to know that state regulation of securities predates the federal system and actually began in 1911 when a pretty horrific scam occurred in the middle of a Kansas drought. And the banking commissioner who promulgated the first securities law later described it as such. A bunch of Chicago city slickers offered and contracted with members of various communities who pooled their resources, and these city slickers promised to make it rain. So they set up their contraption in the middle of one particular community, and it spewed a milky substance into the air for 3 days. And at the end of 3 days, there was nothing but blue sky. and hence state securities regulation was born. Our US Supreme Court confirmed this analysis of these schemes, and the term for state regulation stuck. Today, as I said, we have a dual regulatory system. The federal securities laws were promulgated in 1933 and 1934. And all 50 states regulate securities in addition to the SEC. And in West Virginia, the Securities Commission is obviously a division of the state auditor's office. This is what the stock market feels like to all of us currently. I am sure that it is also what the stock market feels like and what investments feel like to many of our seniors as they look at managing their investments in retirement. So as I said, we're a division of the auditor's office charged with the West Virginia Uniform Securities Act, 32101 at SEC. And we promote legitimate business in West Virginia. And we protect West Virginia residents from illegitimate scam artists. We have 9 staff members with 3 overlapping sections. And we require anyone who offers or sells securities, offers or sells or gives investment advice about securities to register with us. And all securities products offered within our borders have to be registered or exempt. These are last fiscal year's statistics. We had over 200,000 registrations in West Virginia. The majority of those, as you can see, are broker-dealer and broker-dealer agents, and the primarily bulk of the rest are mutual funds. We opened 61 enforcement actions last year. So we want to thank the legislature for the Protection of Eligible Adults from Financial Exploitation Act. It was passed in 2020, and it's what we refer to as the report and hold law. And this has been such a valuable tool in preventing and halting financial exploitation of seniors. As you can see, that's 326601. It requires all financial professionals registered within our borders to notify us and Adult Protective Services if they have a reasonable belief that financial exploitation may have occurred, has been attempted, or is being attempted. And this allows them 15 days upon contacting us to freeze the account and to try to figure out what's going on, and then to get us documents. And upon our analysis of the facts and circumstances of the account, we can authorize them to have a further hold on disbursements. And this has been successful in saving many of the 24 complaints that we have received so far, many of the proposed victims. So there are 32 states, over 1,100 reports last year, and those are the statistics nationwide. So many other states have recognized this valuable tool. Unfortunately, you know, I've talked about the cases where we were able to halt financial exploitation, but that isn't always the case. And sometimes the facts and circumstances can leave our vulnerable adults with really significant consequences. And I think James talked about the fact that a lot of times perpetrators are known to the victim. And you'll see in some of my further statistics that I've found, and there are a lot of statistics out there from various sources, but that roughly half of the victimization occurs from a trusted contact. So it's no surprise to you, I'm sure, that our current generation is wealthier than any other prior demographic and wealthier than other demographics in our country. And why is that? We've had a historic transition from the traditional pension that was uniformly the retirement plan of folks previously to a 401k. And this transition has happened with very little, sometimes no financial education. So folks hit 59 and a half and they can access this money and they may not have a clue of what to do. And that makes them vulnerable to scam artists. So it's the most common form of self-reported abuse among older adults. 1 in 6 by this set of statistics, older adults are financially exploited each year. And another statistic you'll see in a subsequent slide, it's some estimates are even 1 in 4. 1 in 41, but only 1 in 44 cases are reported. So that means that this is a perfect storm for fraudsters, because this is where the money is and they're very likely not to get caught. So what are variables that lead to the exploitation of our vulnerable adults? You can see there's sociogenic, retirement, transitions, all the transition events, emotional issues, health declines, cognitive declines. These lead to increased vulnerability, and of course, the lack of financial education. And as James mentioned, also the financial consequences are devastating. And it's not just money. The consequences for victims of financial crimes, they're twice as likely to die at an earlier age, and it affects their views of their self-sufficiency and impacts their beliefs about their capacity to control their circumstances. So it's far-reaching. This just shows our aging population, our elderly population, of course, is increasing. That's no surprise to anyone. So metals.com is, we frequently work with other states and federal counterparts because these crimes don't know borders. So metals.com is a case that we are involved in actually. It's a federal lawsuit joined with the CFTC. They're a terrific partner for the states. And it was a scam that targeted retirement accounts. And what the scam was, it was a precious metal scam involving gold and silver. And they would have people move their retirement accounts from traditional IRAs to what's called a self-directed IRA. That form of IRA, most people don't realize it doesn't have the same protections that a traditional IRA has or oversight. And they put all these folks' retirement funds in these precious metals. They swiped 25 to 30% off the top and then vastly overrated the account value on statements. 185 million client funds were stolen, 1,600 investors across the country, almost exclusively retirement money. And of course, it's not just nationwide. There have been scams in West Virginia. Sadly, even when they're prosecuted, the money is usually gone. And that is why we support at the auditor's office efforts to have a victims restitution fund for both consumers and investors, because there's a significant need. More tools are needed. We appreciate the tools that the legislature has already provided us, but we are working with AARP and the task force to pursue other tools and would appreciate your support. And again, the state auditor, J.B. McCuskey, unfortunately was not able to be here today, but supports this effort.
Any questions from our presenter? Chair recognizes co-chair Rucker.
Thank you. So thank you so much for this report. I just want to make certain we're not duplicating. So how is what you guys are doing different than what the Attorney General is doing to protect our senior citizens? Like, why does there need to be two different agencies investigating and following up on these crimes?
Well, actually, we work collaboratively with a lot of other state agencies, and we get a lot of referrals from the Attorney General's office. And typically anything that deals with an investment is something that they will refer to us, because that's sort of our niche and our bailiwick. And
Okay.
quite frankly, not everybody wants to work with securities. And if you're not well versed in that, it can sometimes be difficult to understand whether a security is involved or whether fraud has occurred or how to analyze the numbers and so forth.
Okay, well, it's good to hear you guys are working collaboratively. So do you believe that that allows you guys to be on top of this without delay in what you're doing?
Well, obviously, there's always a delay between when somebody is victimized and they realize that they've been victimized. So there's a delay in reporting. I think so more education to investors is crucial. That would be one first step. But the legislature also passed a law last session, which allowed us to more freely communicate with adult protective services, which was a huge boon because their information, like ours, was more protected. And so we were having trouble, given the parameters of our laws, getting the right information across those barriers. But thankfully, the legislature removed those barriers last session, and that's been super helpful.
Okay, that's great. And by companies registering with you guys, what does that do to help ensure that we don't have bad characters? How do you weed those out?
Well, typically, if a complaint comes in about a registered entity, we are able to work those out. First of all, you analyze the facts. So if there is a problem in the transaction, then typically we're able to work those out in a manner that's satisfactory to everyone involved because we have control over the licensure of the companies. And I find the licensed individuals and entities are very willing to cooperate and work with us on remedies. It's the unlicensed folks that we typically have more trouble with because we don't have as strong of a leverage over them, if you will, to work with us. And those folks, if you're a scam artist, you're not worried about following the proper procedure in what you
Obviously.
do. Yeah. So we have trouble with those, which is why we also work very closely with law enforcement.
Okay.
And
I'm
other
just wondering, and what
agencies.
happens when you discover that there's an unlicensed, unregistered, like, is that illegal in the state?
It is illegal in the state to offer or sell a security or give investment advice for money about whether you should buy or sell a security in West Virginia without proper licensure. Yes.
And so that prosecutor can prosecute that.
Well, we can issue an order. Typically a prosecutor, if there's not a substantial loss, if we catch the situation before a loss has occurred, or we can inform the investor that this person, a lot of times we get calls, is somebody licensed with you? And we can give that information. And we tell people, that if you are offering or selling an investment in West Virginia, you have to be licensed. So it is a red flag if somebody is offering these things to you and they're not properly licensed. So again, education is a tool, and we can let investors know that whether someone has been properly licensed or not.
Okay, thank you so much.
Further questions from our presenter? Further questions from either of our presenters? I've been informed that our sheriff has been tied up somewhere and unable to come to our meeting. So I look to our co-chair for a motion.
I motion we adjourn.
The motion to adjourn has been presented. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.